Good afternoon. I welcome you to SPD 696. By now you should have received my welcome email. So I hope you read that completely. Now as we go through the course here, I'll expand on some of the details. So please be patient with me. It's very, very important that you carefully review everything in the course. You get many students who don't know what is required in the course, and yet everything is delineated very well in the course. For example, in the syllabus, which you can open up, then you'll see some information about your instructor. And you'll also see what contact information, my email addresses, there's 2 of them, my phone number, where you can reach me. Anytime that you have an issue that you'd like to discuss with me, please use my email. Since it's an asynchronous class, then that means we communicate with each other on a delayed basis. So sometimes we'll both be online at the same time, and so we can respond to each other very quickly. There'll be other times that that won't happen. For example, I reside in the state of Florida, so we are 3 hours ahead of California time. So obviously, if you are trying to contact me at 10 o'clock at night in California, I will probably already be in bed, okay, because it'll be 1 o'clock here my time. The same thing will apply if I'm trying to communicate with you and it is, say, 8 o'clock in the morning Florida time. It's going to be 5 o'clock in the morning in California. So you can see where sometimes we'll miss each other. But I check my email on a regular basis. On the rare occasion that maybe your message gets to me in my spam filter, if I don't answer you, if I don't respond within 24 hours, please send another message. You can also send me messages by text through the telephone. That way you know that I get your message. All right, so going into the syllabus, we notice that the course prerequisite is SPD 695. Okay, that 8-week course prepares you for this final part here, which is SPD 696, where you're actually going to design, but you're not going to implement a study using human subjects and in intervention. So if you have not taken SPD 695, or if you are taking it right now, then you need to get out of this course, talk to your advisor, and get placed back in the course where you're supposed to be, and then take 696 after you have completed 695. You cannot complete both at the same time. It just doesn't work. Okay, you'll in the syllabus, it will describe your course learning outcomes, what the objective of the class is. The textbooks, okay, in this course, the reading material on which you'll base answers for your discussions, those are in the course. So in your coursework, you'll see course resources. When you click on that tab, that will take you to the course research area where you'll find those papers, okay? Another point is that I have provided templates for you to use. Now the template gives you a rough idea of what is needed in each paper. So please use that template. Just make sure that you convert it to APA style. So the template is just a basic outline. So that is not what you're going to turn in. You'll use the template to prepare the paper that you'll turn in. Okay, the 2 proofing books that we use, they're both APA. It's called the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. Okay, the book, the course calls for version 7. Okay, that's the newest version. that has a copyright of 2020. If you have not had the opportunity to get the new one, then you may still use the 6th version, the 6th edition. Basically it's obsolete, it has no value anymore. But if that's all that you have, then I will accept you following those instructions. And to be honest with you, the instructions for version 6 are a lot more difficult and a lot more complicated than version 7. So if you have the ability to get version 7, I would highly recommend it. And version 7 is going to be good for at least the next 10 years. And so any further papers that you might write in the future for other courses, for example, if you're going for your doctoral thesis, you're going to need the latest version of APA. So I highly recommend it. Okay. And so I've left links in there for both of the publications where you can get those. All right, so then in your quick guide to course topics and assignments, you'll have that portion there that you can read. On one side of that chart, it'll say topics and activities. On the other side of the chart, it will say readings and assignments. So keep in mind that all of your reading material that's required for you to follow is embedded in the course. You'll find those in the course resources. So you're going to have activities for every single week of the 8 weeks that we have the course. Your main assignments are going to be due every 2 weeks, but you will have assignments every week. Okay, for example, in weeks 1 and 2, you're going to upload your city certificates in the Dropbox. You're also going to upload your literature review from SPD695. Now let me see if I can pull up here and share with you what that city report looks like. You should remember it, but if it's been several months since you took the course, then you might not remember it. So let me see if I can pull those up. Let me open this page first. All right, now let me try to share. All right, so you'll see there that if you scroll to the very top, it says Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative, or CITI program. You'll notice there that this is a completion report, part 1 of 2. And then when you scroll down, then you'll see part 2 of 2. So I need both of those pages to be uploaded, okay? And then you will also upload your paper, your literature review paper, okay? So those articles that you have in there, I will be able to review those pages or those articles and see how they work with your course work for this side of the class. Okay, then as you go down, you're going to have weeks 3 and 4. You'll have assignment 4. Weeks 1 and 2, you have chapter 1. You have discussion thread 1. For weeks 3 and 4, you'll have chapter 2 and also your discussion thread number 2. Weeks 5 and 6, chapter 3, and your discussion thread number 3. Weeks 7 and 8, you'll have your chapter 4, and you'll have your discussion thread number 4, and you also have your capstone project compilation. So you have a lot of work in this course. It's not overwhelming, but there is a lot of work. So please budget your time carefully, because as you will notice, when you take a look at the assignments due, there is at least one assignment due each and every week of the 8 weeks. Okay, when you get to the part of the course here Let me see if I can pull this back up again. Okay, the due dates, we talked about that. Your written assignment expectations, let's do that next. Let's make sure that we just follow this in a logical way so that I don't forget something. All assignments are to be typed in Times New Roman font. That will be size 12, and that will be double spaced. Okay, no extra spacing in there, simply double spaced. Everything in the paper is double spaced. Okay, point number 2, follow APA 7th edition guidelines. I already covered if you don't have 7, you can't get it, you can still use 6. But if you're using 6, then you need to really follow APA edition 6. And I have copies of both 6 and 7. Okay, the papers must be error-free in mechanics of English, as well as the APA formatting. Okay, another point that is very important is to follow the criterion that is expressed in the rubric for each assignment. Okay, got to read that rubric. If you don't read the rubric, then you're telling me that you're not serious about your grade, that you don't want a good grade. Okay, I will be able to tell by whether you follow the rubric or not. Okay, another point is that all your papers must be in Microsoft Word. So if you write the paper in PDF, you need to convert it to Microsoft Word. Okay, do not use Apple products, do not use Google products. They don't work well with Blackboard. You'll end up having to reformat the paper and send it back in. That's just a lot of wasted time. So take my word for it. Make it easy for yourself, and please follow those directions. Late work. All assignments are due as are indicated by the professor. Like I said, I did put the due dates into the announcements. Okay. Unless prior permission is given in writing from the professor, late work will not be accepted. So if it looks like you're running into a little bit of a problem and you need an extra day or two, reach out to me. Okay, I'm not a hard person to work with. Tell me what the situation is, and we'll work it out together. Okay. So if your work is late and you haven't discussed anything with me, then I can't give you any credit for that assignment. So please make sure that you follow through on that. If you are going to be late with a paper, let me know what the circumstances are. And like I say, I'll work with you. Okay, so even with prior permission, late work will be accepted with 2 points off of the final score earned on the rubric. Okay, so if you have, for example, let's say that you're earning 20 points. You make a number of errors in the paper, and I give you, say, 18 points for the paper. Well, then I have to take another 2 points off for the paper being late. And so that's how the score will work on that. Discussion threads, if they're not on time, you get a grade of 0. So please make sure that your timing is correct on those. And again, if you have a problem, you can't get it done, let me know. Let's work together on it, okay? All right, so specific course expectations. Okay, number 1, you'll complete a project design for an action research study. That'll be chapter 1, okay? All right, so you're not going to do the research yourself. You're not going to do it at this point. It takes too long for this course. If you were doing a doctoral thesis and you had 1, 2, or 3 years in which to complete the study, then that would be different. But we only have 2 months to complete this. So you're going to design that research study. Okay, number 2 will be chapter 2, which is a research synthesis in a literature review. So when we get to that point, there's some specific instructions for you to use. You'll be able to use some of the material that you researched in SPD695. There'll be some additional research that you will need to do. We'll go over that when the time comes. Okay, number 3 is the completion of the research methodology. How do you plan to conduct the research? That's going to be chapter 3. And then number 4, completion of the summary analysis and implication of research. That will be chapter 4. Now, after those 4 chapters are completed, then you need to put those 4 chapters together into one paper. And you'll have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. You're going to have one set of references. I'm sorry, get a little tongue-tied here. One set of references. You'll have one abstract to cover the 4 papers. You'll have one title page. Okay. So for each of your papers, chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, they need separate abstracts. But when it comes to the final compilation paper, one abstract. Okay, when you get to the end of the paper, it's one set of references. And you'll probably have 30 to 40, maybe even more references in there. Okay, okay, so grading. The grading scale is as follows. 92 to 100 points earns you H for honors. 91 to 70 points gets you S for satisfactory. And anything below 70 points is U, which is unsatisfactory. Okay, so if you get a U, that means you have to take the course over again. Okay, so your written assignment expectations. Okay, you have basically three expectations. Okay, the first one is that they have to be typed and word processed. Font size is going to be size 12. The name of the font is going to be Times New Roman. Okay, it's going to be submitted in standard English following APA guidelines and error-free in sentence structure, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. So you're going to need to do proofreading. Please do not submit a paper that you have not proofread, because you're going to have too many mistakes on there, and you're going to have to fix those mistakes before you put them into the compilation paper. Okay, and then something that's important, even though the course will accept a number of formats for uploading papers, the only format that is acceptable for this course is Microsoft Word. Okay, the reason is that we are grading your papers using Microsoft Word, and that makes it easier to not only grade the papers, but to leave comments for you so that you can fix whatever small issues need to be fixed. Okay, late work, we've already talked about that a little bit. All assignments are due at the date indicated. Unless prior permission is given to the candidate, the late work is not going to be accepted. No credit will be given for the assignment. So be sure to reach out if you're going to be late. Okay, point number 3, with prior permission, late work may be accepted by the instructor. However, there'll be a deduction of 10% in the grade. 10% is generally 2 points. Okay, late discussion board postings earn a grade of 0. All right, so the course discussions. Okay, you're going to have some threaded discussions. Okay, it says here for candidate engagement, the readings, handouts, and assignments will focus on the best practices for teaching students with disabilities. Candidates are expected to attend online class sessions, actively participate and complete all coursework identified in the course outline. This is a dynamic course which enables the candidate to develop and extend their knowledge of evidence-based interventions and strategies for instructing students with IEPs. There is your key element for searching for peer-reviewed articles. It's right there. You need to have that intervention that can be measured, and you need to have the students, you need to have the collection of evidence and data, and how these things are crucial to the teaching for learning for our students who have challenges. Okay, the assignment criteria and expectations. Your first submission is graded unless you tell me that you are checking it for plagiarism. Okay, you need to tell me. Okay, because if I see it and there's no attached note to it, I'm going to go ahead and grade it. All right, so if you don't want me to grade that paper, you need to let me know. So you can give me a note right there in the upload box, or you can send me an email. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I have uploaded templates into the course. And only Word files are accepted because, as I mentioned before, I need to be able to give you feedback on your papers. Now, the last part, the compilation part, does not have a template. That's the only part of the course that does not have a template. Okay, because you're going to combine the other 4 templates into one. So basically, you're not going to change anything in those other formats, but you need to put them all together. You can only have one abstract. Do not give me an abstract for each chapter. That's not acceptable. And your reference page should be all of the references for all the 4 papers. Okay, now another point that's very important is that all sources used in this course must have been published within the last 10 years. That means anything earlier than 2010 is not going to be acceptable. Now you're going to see some articles that may have been published in a journal in 2010, but they were actually published before that in a different journal, or they were used in some sort of a teacher consortium. If that happened beyond the 10-year limit, then that article will not be acceptable. I've had articles come in where they had a journal date of 2010, but they were first posted online in 2007. Well, that means that article, even though it appeared in the journal in 2010, it was not published in 2010. It was published in 2007. Therefore, it doesn't count. All right. In each of your assignments, the first 3 assignments, you will write them using third-person narrative perspective. In the 4th assignment, you will use first-person viewpoint because you will be expressing an opinion. But in the first 3 papers, it is third-person viewpoint. So a high-quality paper with an accurate APA 7th edition is a course expectation for all the assignments and the capstone project. So please note the following. Do not use thesis or dissertations in your work in this course. Okay? This is not about somebody else's work. This is about your work. I don't want to see any theses or dissertations. Okay, you may use a meta-analysis and literature review only in chapter 1 and 3. I don't want to see them in chapter 2. Okay, and I do read your papers. I really do. Okay, and the point number 3 is that your professor does not preview your work ahead of time. So if you need more assistance in this area, let me know. I will help you contact the Writing Center. Actually, you can just go right into the NU website and click on the Writing Center. You make an appointment, you discuss the problem that you're having, and they can walk you through some solutions. Now, don't expect them to correct your paper. They're not going to do that. But they will give you some help. They'll give you some suggestions. So that is what you need to do for that. All right, so what are the actual specific expectations for the project? Well, completion of the project design for an action research study will be chapter 1. Completion of a research synthesis in a literature review will be chapter 2. Completion of a research methodology will be chapter 3. The completion of the summary analysis and implication of research, chapter 4. And then your compilation paper, which will consist of revised chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. I say revised because if I make suggestions in the paper, for example, if you had a really hard time with commas, I'm going to ask you to review some sections in the APA manual about commas, and then I'm going to ask you to go back through the paper and fix those issues. If you have issues with spelling, if you have issues with format, any of those things, then please go back, review them, and fix them in the paper that you're going to submit finally. Okay, and we'll get into the course discussions. These will be about the threaded discussions. They're based on the required readings in the course, with an emphasis on important issues in educational research. Okay, so you're going to have 4 of them. Each one of them has a journal article that you'll review carefully, and then you will discuss. Okay, so each set of 2 weeks has a different paper. One journal paper will be good for 2 weeks. So you'll see that for weeks 1 and 2, you're going to have one paper on which your threaded discussion is based upon. In the first week, you will develop the answers that we pose to you in that threaded discussion, and you will post your answer. Okay, then you have 1 week to look at your peers' postings for that week. You'll select at least 2 of them, and you will give comments on what their findings are. So encouragement is always good. Helpful hints and suggestions are also welcome. So 1 week, you will post your first posting. The second week, then you will post responses. And it'll happen that way for the 4 sets of 2 weeks. So in actuality, you'll have an assignment there each week. Okay. All right. So for example, in weeks 1 and 2, you're going to have the journal article, which is posted in the course resources, European Scientific Journal. Okay, that'll be pages 379 to 386. Okay, and the title of that article is Action Research in Education. For weeks 3 and 4, read the following journal posted in the course resources, which is Special Education Research Advances Knowledge in Education. Okay, then weeks 5 and 6, read the following journal article posted in the course resources, which is Multiple Means of Engagement in Elementary Social Studies. Then weeks 7 and 8, read the following journal posted in the course researches, which is Action Research and Systematic Intentional Change in Teaching Practice. Okay, so those are your discussions. It's very simple. You don't have to go digging for things. We presented everything there for you. Okay, your grade evaluation. Okay, how many points do you earn for each assignment? Okay, the course discussions of the required readings, there's 4 of them. There's 3 points for each one. Okay, so that's a maximum of 12 points. You need to upload your city completion report and the SPD696 literature review. You get 2 points for uploading that. Your project design for an action research, that's chapter 1. That will be 20 points. Your research synthesis and a review, that's chapter 2. That's going to be 20 points. Research methodology, that's chapter 3. That's 20 points. Reflections and implications for practice and inquiry, that's 20 points. That's chapter 4. Then putting the synthesis together, putting those 4 chapters together, fixing them up and submitting that as a project compilation, we give you 6 points for that. So the grand total is 100 points. Okay. So at the end of the course, you'll compile assignments 1, 2, 3, and 4, plus a comprehensive set of reference pages from these 4 assignments into one large Word document. Then you upload it. Okay, all papers will be typed, double-spaced, with Times New Roman 12 font and APA 7th edition format. Okay, now in your compilation paper, please review each of the papers that I send back to you. Fix the things that need to be fixed in the paper. Okay, the reason for it is very clear. Okay, if you submit your compilation paper without correcting the issues that your professor indicates, your paper will be returned to you ungraded, and you will need to revise your compilation accordingly. I cannot issue a grade until those corrections are made. Now keep in mind, I'm not going to flag every single issue in your paper. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to flag the major issues, and I will let you know generally what other things are going on. It's your responsibility to go into the paper and to fix all of those things. So in my email to you, I made some suggestions about some helpful software that will give you guidance, give you help in that regard. It is basically the responsibility of every candidate to make sure that the paper has as few errors as possible. Now, if I don't get your corrected paper back in time, then I will issue an IP, which will delay the completion of your degree, because you cannot get a grade in this course without that compilation paper being completely correct. Okay. All right, so that's it for this video. I will give you more videos specific to the particular weeks. Thank you for joining with me during this video this afternoon. I wish you well in your project, and I hope that you enjoy the journey.